Good day, everybody, and what's up? Welcome to the podcast for She Comes First and Selfless Sex. I am once again your host, Dr. Nick Myers here. Today is September 8th. I'm sitting here on the East Coast. Thank goodness Hurricane Dorian is finally gone and out to sea. Yeah, we were closed on Friday. The agency that I work, we were closed. But, North Carolina pretty much called hell, especially if you're down there on the coast. So, my goodness. But back to the sex stuff, I guess you could say. Of course, I had a different podcast outlined and everything. But for some reason, I started to come across all these articles on like unhappy marriages and sexless marriages and sexless relationships. And I was like, what the devil's going on? And they just kind of popped up on my feed for some reason or whatever reason. And then as I started to go through them, I just started to think back to conversations that I've had with men and women over the past year or so, and how many of them are actually in these sexless marriages and sexless relationships. And of course, the data says it's about like 2% or so. But for some reason, I think that data is really, really low. That number is low. So you know what? Let's talk about that today. So for me, I had to slow myself way down and actually think about some things. Because just last week, I did the podcast on how to eat pussy, how to make her come, and everything else. But what happens if you can't even do the sex part? What happens if you can't even touch your lady? Or your lady doesn't even want you to touch her? You see what I'm saying? Or she doesn't even want to touch you, rather. So how can you even get to the whole eating pussy part when you're not even touching each other? So I had to stop, pump my brakes, slow everything way down, because I really think that I have a theory that there is a percentage of people out there who are actually going through this, but they have no one to talk to about it because no one would even believe that they're going through this situation. It's like, they probably got married 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, and that's when you would think that people are like swinging from the ceilings and everything, but maybe not. Maybe not. So, of course, I had to cite some other articles. I'm going to cite 2 Huffington Post articles as I go through this podcast here. Because for me, this is so outside of my wheelhouse, I kind of had to educate myself. So therefore, as I'm educating myself and asking myself questions, I hope to also educate you and just try to figure out what's going on. So right here, let's get into the top 10 reasons 10 reasons given why people end up in sexless marriages and sexless relationships. So you ready? Let's get through these first 5 issues. Number 1, you can't even talk about sex anymore. That's a big one. Because if you can't even talk about it, most likely you probably can't even do it. So what happens? You start to drift apart slowly over time, but it happens. Number 2, stress. So if you feel that there is a lot of things going on in your life right now and it's out of control and you're trying to control it, but it's just not working, all that stress is going to build up. And I can tell you, stress is a definite sex killer. It's a desire killer. It's a libido killer. It just is. Number 3, you may have mismatched libidos. So for example, out of 100, if she is on a 80 and her husband's on like a 30, they're going to miss each other. And on the flip side, let's say that he's on a 75 and she's on a 15, they're going to miss each other. See, so that's my phrase again, like you're missing each other. There's no connection there sexually. And that can be a big problem. Number 4, mental health issues. Yes, I can agree with this one wholeheartedly. Sometimes, just in the way that this society is going right now, and the amount of depression that's out there, and the amount of anxiety that's out there, I can completely understand not being interested in sex. I mean, think about it. If we turn on the news sometimes, or not even just turn on the news, just turn on the television and it's some breaking news. It's like, come on, again or whatever. You know what I mean? So yeah, so there is a lot of reasons why people are not having sex, and it's people are just depressed and they are anxious. And at the same time, I got to mention this too. For those of you who got treatment for for your depression and for your anxiety, sometimes the medication that you are taking can have a negative impact on your sexual health. Please keep that in mind. And number 5, you hit a rough patch in your relationship. It happens. Sometimes you're arguing and fighting more than you are laughing with each other, and that builds up resentment. So no matter how much makeup sex you have, or you probably won't even have makeup sex. See what I'm saying here? So that resentment builds up, and there's no sex right there. So those are 1 through 5. Okay, just to finish out 6 through 10, number 6, you may notice that your partner is being overly critical of you for whatever reason. And they're not even offering advice, they're just criticizing you. And to the point where like they're putting you down. And one of the most important things in a marriage is acceptance. Accepting the person for who they are. But if they're going to criticize you for whatever reason, who's going to want to have sex with that? I mean, there's no desire there at all. Number 7, unreal expectations about sex. And granted, I'm a quote unquote sex expert. I'm in this field since 1995. And it's like, I can say for myself, I'm not a 10 every night. It's damn near impossible. It's impossible to do. You may not see the stars and the fireworks and shit every freaking night, but if that's what you expect and you don't get it, well, you know what? I don't even want to have sex anymore. Screw it. Like that was only like a 9.5. Screw it. I want a 10 or 11, aka Spinal Tap. But come on now, that's an unreal expectation about sex. It just truly is. Number 8, performance anxiety. Because truth be told, if you feel that you cannot perform, in many cases, you're not even going to attempt to have sex. It's like, why even bother? So I'm not even going to do it. So therefore, no one's having sex. Number 9, scared to suggest new things in the bedroom. And I mentioned this the other day in our Facebook group, because if you're not in our Facebook group, you really should come on over because we're having some interesting conversations in that group. And with that said, it's just you're waiting for your partner's reaction. So, for example, if you suggest something and your partner's like, cool, let's try that. Okay, let's get some spice going. Or on the flip side, if they're like, ew, that's gross, I'm pretty sure you will never suggest anything else again in the bedroom. Don't yuck my yum. That's the old quote from the 90s, rather. But still, that has a profound impact on someone's sexuality and also their fantasies. And number 10, you become bored of each other. Early on, it was great. You guys are swinging from the chandeliers probably a couple times a day, or at least weekly, or whatever, or daily. And then it turned into the same old, which kind of goes back to spicing it up. But it's almost like you stopped being curious, and therefore your sex life died. So those are 10 possible reasons or causes for a sexless marriage. With all of that said, my question is this: can a sexless relationship or a sexless marriage survive? And the easy answer is yes. Yes, they can. Granted, 60% of people in this country feel that their being sexual and having sex is very important to them. But for some people, it may not be. For example, if both people have very low libidos, and if we're talking like a scale here of 1 to 100, and they're both down around a 10, they'd probably be just fine because they're both not really interested in having sex. Also, let's say a health issue comes up and you're married. And some people may want to stay in that because the old quote is, for better or worse. In this case, it's worse. So they will hang in there with the hope is that their sexuality or their sexual health may come back over time. And if it doesn't, it's okay because their love is strong. And sex, that's just how it is for them. That's fine. And number three, some couples may value other areas of their marriage or relationship more than their sexuality. So for some people, if you ask them, oh yeah, sex is like one of the top 5 reasons why, we're together or something. For them, sex could be down like around 20, and they may not place that much importance on it. And for them, that works. But my broader question coming back, like full circle, is will this work for everybody? And more specifically, will this work for you? So what happens if staying in a sexless marriage isn't going to work for you? And of course, if you are sexually mismatched in your libido, that's one of the more easier reasons to see. But what happens if the sexlessness is a symptom of other issues and problems in your relationship or in your marriage, which could lead to infidelity or one of the partners asking for an open relationship or an open marriage? Then what do you do? So in closing out this podcast, just to keep it real, I can admit that I was in a sexless marriage. And the odd part is both of us had our PhDs in human sexuality. And now I forgot, both of us also had our master's degree in human sexuality. So yeah, we were both sex experts and we were not having sex. But that was a symptom of other issues in our short marriage. But anyhow, so for those of you who know me, I try to end on a positive note and give some solutions. So once again, I'm going to try that here. It may not work, but I'm still going to try it. So in that same article, they mentioned try to go back and think about when you guys stopped having sex or when the sex started to slow down. What was the trigger? What was going on during that time? Was it stress? Was it some sort of a mental health issue going on? Which all could be triggers and actually cause and get you on and set you off on that slippery slope to the point where now you're not having sex at all. And also don't forget, and as you're doing that, please talk about sex. And for guys, many cases, we clam up quick. But this is one circumstance. You may want to just try to open up and keep the conversation avenues open and listen and communicate back and forth. Because if it's just a one-way street, it's not going to work. And the problem won't, how can I put it? The problem just won't get fixed by itself. And number 3, you may have to make time for each other. And if you have to schedule sex, go ahead and do it. It's not romantic, but you know what? At least you're getting some. And also, at least you're having sex. And you may get that ball rolling again, quote unquote snowballing. Well, not really snowballing, but you know what I mean. Get the ball rolling again so that you can now start to enjoy your sexuality again. And also, this is very important. People don't think about this. If it gets to a certain point and or if you think it's already there, you may have to seek out sexual therapy. And I actually happen to know a few really good sexual therapists, or my friends up in Philadelphia, but still, seek out sexual therapy. You have to find a therapist that works for you and for your issue. Because there could be other underlying issues that actually cause you guys to stop having sex in the first place. So that's just some food for thought. On that note, I'm out. You guys have a great day. Stay tuned. I'll talk to you soon.